Hi everyone, my name is Kayla. Welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be talking about finding peace through God. Because, as you know, may or may not know, my husband and I just walked through a really challenging miscarriage during a really challenging time in this world. And we really just struggled with, what's God want for us? What is God's plan for us next? And so I just wanted to speak a little bit of my own personal experience of hope through you guys, just to show that there's always hope with God. That my ultimate takeaway from this all has been, when there's no peace on earth, there's peace in God. And that is the truth. That's something that we cling on and hope and cling on to moving forward from here. But what tends to happen a lot through miscarriages, there's a lot of what ifs. There's, what if I'd done this differently? What if the baby had been fine? What if this was a 100% planned pregnancy? What if, I didn't have doubts in the beginning, like, am I ready for this? What if, there's just what ifs. What if I got into the doctor sooner? What if there wasn't during a pandemic? What if Cody could have been there with me? What if? You'll just be drowned in the what ifs if you go down that path. And I think it's important for your heart to think those thoughts, maybe write them in a diary, but not to dwell in those feelings and thoughts, because really what good can come from that. But losing our baby at 6 weeks in one day, it was 13 days shy of finding out the gender. So I, in my heart, strongly believe it was a boy, but what do I really know? And also, it was 2 days shy of Mother's Day when the baby had passed, which in the time I did not know, so I got to celebrate Mother's Day. That was my first Mother's Day with a baby inside, which I guess technically it really was still, but the way we view it is me and Cody are still parents. We're still mom and dad, and just our baby's not here. Our baby's in heaven, and that is sad, but I know every step of my life, God has been with me 100% of the way. I don't doubt anything. I know this was His plan for me. I was confused in the beginning, wondering like, okay, this is my new path, my new plan I didn't see coming. That's how God works. He will tell you about that. I had made peace with that, even though in my heart I knew I wasn't ready to have a baby, and I knew I wasn't ready to be a mom quite yet. I was only 26. I just didn't feel ready. But I was like, well, God obviously thinks I am. So when I was wrestling and struggling with that, I'd made peace and started to get excited about the baby. And then finding out in the news there was never a baby made a lot at the 6-week mark. At my very first ultrasound at 8.5 weeks, I realized, okay, to a small extent it made me feel better, like the baby never progressed past the cell form. It never was truly there. I guess that's how I reasoned in my mind, like, okay, it was a loss, but it wasn't like the baby suffered. It wasn't like the baby stopped growing, the baby wasn't okay, like there never was. And so that made the grieving process easier. So for that month, I waited and waited for the miscarriage to happen, because I said it'll happen any day, and which it did not. So the month goes by and I go to the doctor. I'm like, okay, at this point we have to take action. And, they put me into the ultrasound room to check and see what all's there. Of course, everything's there, but that's when they find the baby that had stopped growing. And it's like, I knew the whole time there was a baby. And during my first 13 weeks of pregnancy, so from 8 to 13 weeks, the whole time I believed there was nothing. It was just a gestational sac with a yolk sac and no baby present. And so at that point, it felt like I had to grieve the process all over again, because it's like, okay, this truly was a loss. This was a loss of my baby. This was real. It wasn't a blighted ovum. It was my baby. And so that was hard to wrestle with internally. More prayers, more tears, more what ifs, more uncertainty. Then I was like, okay, after I find out it was a blighted ovum, I was like, okay, God, I was right. I wasn't ready. His plan is not for me to have a baby. It was just to wake me up, like, okay, hey, pay attention to me. Like God saying, pay attention. I'm speaking to you. Open your heart, open your mind, open your eyes, open your ears. And then finding out there was a baby, it was like, okay, so God is wanting me to grieve this and go through the feelings and the experience of realizing, like, life is precious, life is short, which you always know, in your life, but like something like this, like if you lose a close loved one, a close friend, a baby, or a pregnancy, like you really stop to realize like, okay, I see the world really differently now. I'm a different person. All my experiences have shaped me into who I am now and have made me only stronger. And I started to realize like, okay, this is God's plan for me. It's to teach me and to have me learn through this experience, no matter how painful it is, because on earth this is a very broken world, and God knows that, and that's why He's sending His Son Jesus Christ to this world one day to save us all again and bring us home, because this world is only going to get worse from here. The devil is very alive, and he is present, unfortunately, in a lot of lives and a lot of people and a lot of circumstances. So you have to guard your heart. And so, going through that, I'm like, okay, God, this is God's plan. And then not my body refusing to miscarry and having to go through taking those pills and encouraging the miscarriage with my body and experiencing that pain and realizing like, this is something I'm having to endure. God has set this for me in my life to endure, and I will 100% willingly trust Him blindly and go through this and know that everything is okay. And that's exactly what I did. And then realizing that hadn't worked, I had to have surgery. And on top of all of that, being alone, I had time to really listen to God. I didn't get to be distracted by Cody, be distracted by my phone, or not, in a good way, but, I had to sit in His presence 3 hours alone in the surgery room, not knowing but an hour before that I was going to have the surgery, and just really like, okay, God, what do you want from me? What are you trying to tell me? I'm here. I'm listening. And then recovering from surgery, He had me go through a very easy recovery, and I thank the Lord every day for that. And it's navigating the route back to the real world now. How do I incorporate myself through that? How do I get through this? How do I get past this? And I wish I had more like bullet points of like, this is what you should do. But I think just talking through my experience might help. If anyone is going through this, God forbid, especially during the pandemic and quarantine times and the virus, because that is scary in itself. And the what ifs of, what if the virus caused this? What if I contracted coronavirus, didn't know, and there's been research, because there's not much, of an early fetal death in the first trimester from contracting the virus. I'd only know by getting an antibody test, and if I even showed I had it, who knows if that really caused it or not. I might, just to settle my heart, get the antibody test, because so much of this, there was no answers. Who knows why any of this happened? Nobody, but God. So resting also in that, knowing I will never have an answer. I will never know who this baby was, what the gender was, a name to a face. Like, I'll never know that. And I'll never know why this happened. And that's okay. I have to realize that one day in heaven, I will get to meet this baby, and maybe even then have some answers. But I just know God's got my back, and I just have to keep on moving. And I hate when people say that, but it's in a way true. But I also do think it's important to not, and to sit and just reflect. Writing my diary has helped a lot. I think everyone wants to find meaning through traumatic events in their life, meaning through unfortunate news, meaning through the hardships, and I think eventually you do find that, and you look back on that, and even if you don't, whenever you meet God one day, he will let you know why He had to go through different trials and tribulations where other people don't. And I think in a roundabout way, some people are luckier than others, but God has different things He has each person go through, and that's why I encourage you when you meet someone to speak with kindness and kind words and a kind heart, because you have no idea what someone's going through. Because physically, I look fine, or mentally and emotionally and spiritually, I feel like torn up. And I never was mad at God through all this, because I think partly this was not completely planned, and I was already upset at first, like, okay, I'm not ready. And then this happened, it's like, oh man, like, I didn't want that to happen, but I still don't feel ready, and I still don't to this day yet feel ready. And I'm 27 now, and it's been a few months, but I'm not angry at God. I trust Him, and I have extreme hope and joy for the future. I know that this was obviously His path for me. It started here. I'm like, okay, I'm pregnant. I did not expect that. This is His new path for me. Oh no, there's no baby. Okay, back on path. Nope. Okay, failed miscarriage. Okay, now what? Is this gonna be what's gonna happen here? Oh, DNC, back on the path. And and now I really don't believe I'm back on that same path I thought I initially was. Like, I think your path is very different and constantly changing and evolving where God leads you. But learning, like, okay, I'm going to put my faith and trust in God. I'm not going to be an over planner. I'm not going to try and force things in my life that are out of my control. That is up to God, like planning when to have kids. You can always plan, but you have to let God direct you and lead you. And I just think, like, learning from this experience moving forward, I want to better myself. And in order to do that, I need to self-reflect. I need to listen to what God's trying to tell me and pray. And for me, it's different than it is for someone else. But, for me, it was to wake up. Like, in the moment, you feel like there's so many different, like, oh, something so small, so catastrophic. But it really gets put into perspective when something like your child or your baby dies, and that's the most ultimate, like, reality check of, like, this is real life, this is serious, and this is happening to me. This is like the utmost, like, adult thing you have to deal with, and unfortunately people of all ages have to deal with, death. But it's like, this is the epitome of, like, real life events happening, and it's not like everything's always going to be okay. No matter what I did, I couldn't save our baby and didn't even know about it. And so it's like a sense of being lost, of helplessness, and like, God is in control. That's what gives you the strength and hope and peace. Like, God's got this. Even when bad things happen, He's there for you. I find strength speaking to others about my experience, and that's why I'm finally filming this. I want to honor this baby every day of my life, and how can I go about that? And Cody got me this necklace. But basically this necklace says, "Mommy of an angel," has 2 little baby feet in the middle and a little angel wing, which is really kind of him. I was not expecting that gift. That was really, really touching. My biggest what if is, was this supposed to happen my very first pregnancy, and God had this happen now before I was ready, hoping and willing and praying for this baby? Or, was this a very instant thing, like He had this happen to me right now on purpose? Or, that was part of my path, unfortunately, and it was going to happen regardless at that day, like March 26, 2020, I was going to be expecting. Like, was that His plan all along, and He knew all this was going to happen, and He had me go through this on purpose so I could have a year to prepare my heart, prepare myself for where I need to be for my future, not just for having kids. Like, I'm not where I need to be, and I know. And, I struggle with that. It's like, was this going to happen regardless? Was this my fate? Was this an instance that God is intervening to change me and change my life? And I believe, like, the moment I got that pregnancy test, my life has changed. It has changed 100%. And I feel like a different person. It really puts in perspective what's important, what's not. Don't sweat the small stuff. And truly, like, God, like, He is in control. He is in control. There's nothing that you can do for a lot of things in your life. And that's okay. And accepting that. But, I realize that the small, insignificant issues, and, like, I don't care anymore. Even, like, I don't care if the baby, our first born alive, okay baby, is a boy or a girl. I don't care if they're born the right time, the right month. That's not important. At this point, all I want is a healthy baby. And I understand that now. I don't want a boy. I don't want a girl. I don't want, one or the other. Like, I want a healthy baby. I don't care if it's a boy, if it's a girl, if it's a baboon. I want a healthy baby. And, what helped me was this book, Loved Baby. It is a devotional book, and it also has kind of stories of real life women that go through this, and it's really good. It's uplifting. It's a really good read. I've already gone through half the book, and I got it yesterday, so that's just kind of my advice. But this all happened the exact way God had intended it to, and exactly how God knew it was going to happen. So I rest in the peace of that, and I found peace through God. Thank you, guys.